This can be a sad and hard topic to think about, but I hope you'll hang in there with me because it's actually, on the surface, it seems sad and it seems negative, but when we get further into this, you'll find that there's a lot of value in thinking like this. And the idea is that every single thing you do in your life, every single thing, there's going to be a last time that you do that. There's not a single thing in your life that you're going to do forever, that you're going to experience forever. There's going to be a last time that you experience it. So if you think about all of this shit, from small things to like this favorite restaurant that you go to every week, there's going to be a last time that you go there. Maybe it'll close. Maybe you'll move away. Maybe your taste will change, something like that. There's going to be a last time you do that. To big things, to where there's going to be loved ones that you hug for the last time, that you say goodbye to for the last time. There's going to be people that you see for the last time. All of that stuff. You have to think that every single thing in your whole life, there's going to be a last time. For me, as I was thinking about this, and I it's come up in a few things. I've heard people say stuff like, I heard a podcast interview. I think it was a guy. He said he told another dad, if I'm remembering this right, he said, there's going to be a last time when you pick up your kid. Like he had a little kid, and you pick the kid up and you carry him. And the guy got offended about it. I wish I remembered who this was because I just don't remember. But the guy was offended. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's going to be a last time. He's like, there's going to come a point where the kid becomes too heavy. And you're going to be like, let's just walk. I can't pick you up anymore. So imagine that last time if you didn't, if you weren't present in that moment, you know what I mean? If you were just kind of whatever about it. You're carrying your kid. I don't have kids, so this is kind of foreign to me, but this is something I heard. But for me, when I was thinking about this, and I've heard this from a lot of people, so I definitely have been utilizing this for some time. So I'll go through some of mine, and then we'll get further into it, and then I have some action steps, so I hope you stick around. This is actually one of the most valuable things I think that I've incorporated in my life in recent years. And the reason I think it's so important is because more and more I'm seeing in society with the endless amounts of distractions from all over the place. I mean, you can really blame the phones and all that stuff, but even the way we consume television and shit, and just there's just distractions everywhere. And I live in Vegas, so like, fuck, man, there's distractions all over the place. So it's challenging to be present, and I think we're naturally moving further and further away from avoiding situations where you're just sort of sitting there in the moment and just being present in that moment, because you're always looking at your phone, or you're always hearing some ding in the background, or there's some screen playing something in the background, all of this kind of stuff. And we sort of lose this idea that none of that shit matters. I mean, if you think back memories of like hanging out with your homies at a certain yard or going painting or something like that, those memories are pretty easy to recall. There's a lot of like shit you can remember. You can remember smells and just kind of all this sort of stuff, what shit looked like, and kind of the sounds you were hearing. Like it's a vibrant, I guess, the word I can't think of a word. It's like a vibrant memory. But then you think about all the time that you spend in distraction, like scrolling and shit. Do you remember any of that stuff? Did it have any effect on you whatsoever? I would assume that it doesn't. And so imagine if you think about stuff like where you're sitting there on your phone, but you're sitting with somebody you love, and you're spending all that time scrolling through shit, and you're never going to remember that. This is where it gets kind of sad, but what if that was the last time you ever saw that person? Like, we don't have any control over that. So if we sit there and spend all this time not being present with the people that we love, and all of a sudden they're gone, wouldn't you prefer to have created a vibrant memory rather than sit there scrolling on your fucking phone or watching some stupid shit? I mean, if you're watching stuff and you're laughing and having a good time, I mean, you're still creating a memory. That's cool. I'm talking about being completely detached from the moment that you're in. And some of the things that I thought about when I was kind of writing these ideas up was like when I was young and I was painting a lot, and graffiti was pretty much like one of the probably the most important thing in my life at the time. I was painting these famous LA yards. I was painting Motor Yard and Venice Pavilion and Belmont and different places, Jefferson, different yards that a lot of local LA people knew about. And some of these yards are famous enough to where people all over the world know about it. And I took for granted those places weren't always going to be there. And none of those places exist anymore. I can't grab a bag of paint and go relive those experiences, or I guess you wouldn't relive the experiences, but I can't go back and experience those places anymore because they're all gone. But what's crazy is there was the last time I painted all of those places, and I don't remember what that is. I don't remember the last time. These last times for me, they happened in the 90s, so obviously the distractions were a little bit different then, but I really do wish I remembered those last times. And what I use it for now is like for my dogs and my girlfriend and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's like these are really important things to me. So, I have this one dog that's really old. He's like 20 something years old. I adopted him when they said he was 10, and it was like 2009 or something like that. So, he's still, he's got health problems and stuff, but he's not suffering. He's still here, but it's like, when I look at him, I try to remember to be present and make sure that if there is a last interaction that I'm going to have with him, it's going to be positive, because everybody gets mad and imagine if like the last day I ever had with my dog Herbie, if I was pissed at him for doing something, like if I yelled at him or something like that. Like, I don't want that to be the last time. So I try to keep that top of mind because I want the last time to be something that I remember, and the same thing, like with my girlfriend, like I fucked that up today. Like Jesse was getting ready for work and all that stuff. And I was kind of caught up on some things on my phone, and I was like replying to messages or something. And so she's getting ready to leave, and I always get up and I give her a hug and a kiss goodbye, and I tell her to be safe and all this kind of stuff. And I did all of that stuff, but I wasn't present during that moment. And so even though I put my phone down and I got up and I did all that stuff, when she left, I was like, man, I should have really disconnected from what I was doing and really been present there. Like, I know she's going to come home, but like at the same time, you don't know, like something could happen. You just never know. So like, I think you get the idea. So, I mean, I would say that, and hang in there. I got some other stuff that might help you with staying in the present. But one thing that I want to address is sort of emotional challenges that it is to think like this, because I think what a lot of us do, like I have this one dog, T, and she's the only dog that I've ever raised from a puppy. I adopted her mom when she was pregnant. Her mom got dumped at the shelter. It's kind of a long story, but so T is the only dog I've ever raised, and she's I believe she's like 13 now, which is pretty old, but like to me, she's still the puppy that like that I've always known, you know what I mean? And so since she's been a puppy, we've had this same ritual. So like 13 years we've been doing this. We all go to bed and I ask her to give me a hug, and I raise my arm up, and she comes and lays in my armpit, and then I pet her until I get tired, and and then I'll sort of like say, okay, it's bedtime, and then she'll go lay down somewhere else, or she'll stay there, whatever that is. Sometimes she'll stay there for a few minutes, but that's beside the point. So this is where it's hard. It is a very, very hard thing for me to think this could be the last time I'm doing this. And I'm getting a little bit emotional just thinking about that, but I do think about it. So when she's laying there, I could be like, this could be the last time we do this. And we've been doing this for 13 years. The reason that I think it's important to get over that sort of emotional block to say, I don't want to think about that stuff, because it's such a powerful thing that it kind of forces you to be present. If you say, this could be the last time that I do this, are you going to pull out your phone and be like, well, I might as well scroll through Instagram? I don't think you would do that. I would hope you wouldn't do that. So that's where that's why I see it to be so powerful. And the more you kind of use this tool, you can be less emotional about it, but it's always, I don't know, for me, it's always hard. But at the same time, it's really been the most powerful tool that I can think of, to where when I think, if I keep that top of mind, that everything I do, like even breathing, you just totally take that for granted. But there's going to be a time when I don't breathe anymore because I'm dead. So, I mean, it's just the reality of life that everything is temporary. So as hard as it is sometimes to think, and as much as it seems like it's negative, it's really going to push you towards that present moment. So what all that is just a tool to try to snap you back into the present moment, given all the distractions and given all the things that we want to do. And I'm really bad about this. Like, I pick up my phone all the time. Like, I'm trying to get way better about it. I'm really trying to be very intentional when I pick up the phone, because it's been so ingrained in our lives that it's just, I don't even know why I'm picking it up a lot of times. It's just this habit, like an addiction. And I'm trying to get better about that. What it really comes down to is the phone takes me out of the moment. It takes me away from everything that's happening around me and everything that's actually important. And nothing, I run my business on my phone, run a lot of business stuff on my phone. So it's not that the things that I'm doing aren't important, but if it's taking me away from time with Jesse or my dogs or with my friends, or being present painting with crewmates or whatever that is, like if it's taking me away from that, then it's to my detriment. So I want to get better about that. So what this whole idea is thinking this could be the last time, if you're out with your crew, if in the beginning, when you go out with your crew, if you're like, this could be the last time we ever get together like this, wouldn't you think you'd be a lot more present during that time and make sure you're creating those vivid memories that you're going to think on 10, 20 years ago? Remember we hit that spot and this and that. It's probably so easy to sit there and be distracted. And I see this and I get frustrated when I see this. Like I'll see a parent, sitting with a kid and they're just on their phone the whole time. And I'm thinking, man, that kid's not going to be that age for that long, and you're missing out. Maybe that's being judgmental. I don't know. Anyway, so I wanted to get into some action steps on some things that might help you cultivate mindfulness. And mindfulness, I have talked about it a bunch of times, and it's very helpful in terms of getting yourself into that present moment. So I think all of these tools that I have listed are things that I actively use. Let me just, actually, there's one or two on here that I still need to work on, but I'll go through all of them. So number one, box breathing. This is something that I use frequently, and I think I heard it. It's something that the Navy SEALs use, and it's a way to, I can't remember. I think it snaps triggers your sympathetic nervous system or something. I don't know the technical shit around it. I don't remember it. I have heard it and I learned it at one point, but I'm having trouble recalling exactly what it is. But box breathing, if I have it right, is you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 4 seconds, then you exhale for 4 seconds, and you go through that a number of times. I believe it's 8 times. I don't know, Google it. But you'll find this is very helpful in a lot of ways, especially like if you're finding yourself in a stressful situation. It really helps calm you down. It increases your focus. It kind of snaps you into the moment. So that box breathing is something that's something that I go to pretty regularly. If I'm getting really stressed out, I'll jump into box breathing. A lot of times I'll do it when I'm in bed. If I'm having trouble sleeping, like my brain just keeps going, I'll use it then. It's something that I've found very helpful. And also just learning simple breathing techniques. And my favorite form of meditation is the simplest. I don't know if it's the simplest. I find it to be the simplest. All you do is you try to turn your complete attention to your breath. So you don't generally think about breathing. A form of mindful meditation could be just turning your attention to your breath. And that's how I learned how to meditate. And that's what I use the most. Even when I'm out walking around, if I just want to detach from all the chaos going on around me, I'll just be walking around and just all I'm thinking about is my breath. It's a good technique that I like to use quite a bit. There's other forms of mindful meditation that you can use, and you can really apply it to a lot of different things. I mean, like, for example, if you went for a walk, you could just decide on one thing that you're going to be completely focused on. Like, you could choose to be completely focused on your feet hitting the ground and what that sensation is, and just direct all your focus there. The overall idea, I personally don't think that it matters too much what exactly it is you're thinking about. You could even count the amount of breaths that are coming in and out, like lots of different things that you could do. But the whole idea is just is getting you present in something very, very specific, and it kind of helps you with focus and all this kind of shit. So we talked about the phone and technology a bunch. Another thing that like I'm really trying to do is disconnecting from technology. That's another very helpful thing that'll help you be present in the moment. I've already gone through all of like how the technology is distracting and all that, and we all already know that. But what I've been trying to do lately and what I've been finding very helpful is I've been identifying the times when I reach for my phone and then just stopping myself from doing that. There's a lot of benefits to that. Obviously, you're breaking a bad habit. So like, let's say, for example, I'm in line at the bank. That's a time when I would just be on my phone the whole time. If I'm going to be in line for like 15 minutes, I might as well look at shit on my phone. But I find that it's better to just stand there and not look at my phone. And it could be any number of things that you do. And what's crazy is like, I actually kind of remember some of my bank trips because I was just standing there and just looking around, and it actually creates more of a memory. Not that that's a memory that I need, per se, but I think it's better to be detached from technology, and you can use all of those times, and stopping yourself from doing something that's like a compulsive type of thing. That's actually really good for you. It'll help you in other ways. Like if you have a tendency to eat shitty food and whatever that is, or any kind of bad habits, like the more you stop yourself from just feeding this urge that you have. So if you have this urge to reach for your phone, every time you stop yourself, you get in a little bit of a boost in whatever that is. I don't know if it's mental toughness or discipline, or I don't know what that falls under, but it's good for you. So detaching from technology, definitely something that I think is helpful, and I'm trying to be better at. The other thing that I've been doing a lot is practicing gratitude. And I know this is like a fucking buzzword, and everybody, you got to have gratitude and all this shit. I feel like there's a better way to do it than being grateful for the things that are easy to be grateful for. And this is something I learned from my friend Marcus Aurelius Anderson. He has a podcast, Octa Non Verba. He was on this show, and I check him out. But one of the things that he talks about is being grateful for adversity, and that's something that I've been doing quite a bit. And I find that it's the most helpful form of gratitude. I definitely, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I definitely tell the people in my life that I'm grateful for them as well, because I think that's important. I tell Jessie that I'm grateful for her all the time, and when I tell her that, I try to make sure I back it up and I say I really mean that. Like, I'm not just saying this buzzword shit. Like, I'm very grateful for you. I'll tell my dogs that I'm grateful for them. Not that they know what the fuck I'm saying, but it makes me feel good to tell them that. But for me, the most important one is being grateful for the hard shit, because that makes the hard shit so much easier to get through. And I know this is maybe slightly off track from the actual topic of it could be the last time, but these are all things that kind of help you be present in the moment. So if you're going through some hardship, try to find something you can be grateful for. And I know that there is some really hard shit that it actually sounds shitty, like if somebody dies or something like that. Like, don't be grateful that they died, but find something that you can do that you can find gratitude in. Like if somebody dies of some disease or something like that, and maybe you can start some kind of charity in his or her name or something like that. Like, I don't know what it is. There's all kinds of different things. For me, most of the things that stress me out are business related. So when those things come up, I always tend to say, like, I'm grateful this is happening because, number one, I'm learning. This is when you learn the lessons. The hard shit is where the lessons are. So I'm grateful for that. I also see it as an opportunity to practice equanimity. Equanimity? I can't remember how to say it. Practice this being calm under pressure. Like, that's something that I really want for myself. It's something that I've been really working on for quite some time. Like, I want to be, this phrase that comes to mind, unfuckwithable. Like, it's like, imagine that person that, like, when everything is like going wrong, if they're just calm and collected, like, that's the kind of person you want to be around. Like, that's the kind of person I want to be. Not that I'm not affected by these things, but I can detach and make sure I'm making the right choices and not getting all fucking emotional, you know? So another way to be present in the moment is something called single tasking. A lot of people talk about multitasking. They say, like, oh, you know, I'm good at multitasking. And it's like, you're not really good at multitasking. You're diminishing the effectiveness of each of those tasks. Like, there's probably a tiny percentage of people that actually can multitask, but your brain can't focus on multiple things at the same time. So it kind of goes back to what we're originally talking about. So, like, if you're out with your girlfriend and you're also on your phone, you're not present in either of those things. So put the phone away, single task, be in the conversation with her or him or whatever it is. If you're with your dog, whatever that moment is that you're trying to make sure that you're present in, that's your single task. That's the only thing you should be focusing on. You could also apply this. I don't want to get too far away from what we're originally talking about, but you can apply this to your work and shit like that. Like, you could block out time where you're like, I'm not going to check my email. I've been doing this thing. I think it's the Pareto principle. I might not have that right, but it's you work hard on something for 25 minutes and then you take 5-minute breaks. And then I actually bought a timer that it's pretty cool. Cause I say, like, I'm going to do this task for 25 minutes. And then for 5 minutes, you're supposed to take a break. So in those 5 minutes, I can do whatever, check my email or some bullshit. But then when that 25-minute timer goes on, I'm fully focused. So the reason I'm going through all of these things is it helps you build that sort of ability to be present in the moment, and then you won't miss out on those last times. So another thing you can do, and I don't do this very much, but it came up in my research, it's reflecting on the importance of moments. So I've already kind of covered that, but if you think about creating those memories and all that stuff, if you reflect back on those moments, maybe that'll be something that'll remind you, like, oh, I remember when I was doing that, and, like, you know, it brings you back to that moment that you were having. It's possible, like, if you reflect, and I'm saying this like as somebody that doesn't really do this very much, so I'm not really giving advice as if I have experience, because it's something that just came up in my research and I thought it sounded good. But it could be a motivator for you to make sure that you stay present in those moments. So if you're looking back on things and you have these vivid memories, the reason you have those vivid memories is because you were present during that time. So looking back on that stuff and remembering that, it might remind you that, you know, if you're in a present moment where it would be a memory that you'd want to be able to think back on and have a good, vivid recollection of that memory, that's a good reminder to stay present during that time and not get distracted with all this kind of shit. So this last one is something that I'm working on, trying to get better at, and it's setting daily intentions. If you set that intention for your day, you know, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be fully present in each moment today. And you kind of start your day like that. It's more likely that you're going to be able to keep that top of mind, you know, when you're getting going for the day. Another thing you can do is set your intentions for each moment. So let's say you're going to visit somebody, you're in your car and you're about to get out and go up to the door or whatever. There's I can't remember the name of the book. I think it's a Brendan Burchard book. It's something about habits of high performance habits, I think it might have been called. If I'm not mistaken, in that book, he talked about this thing where he said, before he goes into those times, like let's say you're sitting in your car and you're about to go up to the door, he'll pause and he'll release tension, like physically release the tension in his body, and then set the intention for that experience, whatever it is. Even if you're going into a meeting or even going into another room, you can pause and set the intention for what you're going to do. So if you go into something with the intention of being present, so imagine if you're sitting in your car and you're going to meet, your grandma or something. You're going over to her house, let's say. So you're sitting in your car, you spend a minute or so to release all the tension in your body and then set the intention. I'm going to be fully present when I get in there with my grandma, because you never know, So you go in there and then all of a sudden you're creating this memory with your grandma or your dog or whatever. I think it's a good tool and it's a good reminder for me to see this, because I really need to do this more. So to wrap it up, the overall concept, the idea is just whenever you're out there and you're doing anything, whether it's important or not, just try it. Try thinking this could be the last time I do this, and see if it shifts how important it is for you to make sure you're present in that moment. Try some of the things I talked about in terms of being more mindful. If you're already doing that stuff, you may have a pretty good handle on mindfulness. So this could be something you just add to your toolbox. That's something you could sort of reflect on anytime you go to pet your dog. Just remember, like, there's one time that it's going to be the last time. I want to make sure that every time is good. It's also, I find it very helpful to not stay mad at somebody. Like, wouldn't that suck if like the last time you saw somebody, like you didn't have a good experience with them? So like, try to just drop the bullshit and just get back to making that a good time. Like, you never know, that could be the last time. So like, if you're holding on to any kind of bitter, stupid shit and you could just squash it right then and there, just do that. There's no reason to sit there and be all stubborn about it. That would just suck. I would hate that. And like, I think about that. Like, I talked about my old dog, Herbie, and there was one night when I got really mad. Like, I never hit my dogs. I don't do any of that stupid shit, but like, I do get pissed, and they kind of get nervous, when they see me pissed. And I always feel bad. Like, after that happens, like, I'm like, fuck, man, I kind of scared him. Like, he saw me all pissed off. Like, that's the worst it gets. But at the same time, there was one night when like he kept waking me up, and it wasn't even his fault. Like, he probably wasn't feeling good or something. And I just got really frustrated. He knew I was frustrated. You know how the dogs can pick up on it. So he knew I was frustrated, but whatever he was dealing with was causing him to wake me up. And I think like it was after like the 7th time, like I'd fallen asleep, and he woke me up, and I just got really mad. And then when I went back to bed and as I'm laying there, I was like, fuck, man. It's like, he's an old dog. Like, wouldn't that suck? Like if that was my last interaction with him, I don't want that, So like, since I had that moment, this was some months ago, like I've been a lot better about it. And I think about that. And I know it sounds negative. Hopefully I've articulated this well enough to where you can see it as being something that's actually really helpful. So recording this podcast, I don't remember the last time I talked to Cub, and that sucks. Like, I wish I remembered that. And I hope it was a good conversation. Like, I don't remember what that is. I don't know that I was distracted. I just didn't know it was going to be the last time, He used to send all these motivational, I don't know if it was motivational, but these like, it's going to be a great day kind of texts in the morning and shit, And there was a last one that I got from him. I'll have to pull that up and see what that is, but it's important to think about this. It's important to remember that everything is temporary, and you got to just be present as much as you possibly can. I know it's impossible to be present at all times, but that should be the goal. All right. Good.
Appreciate each and every one of you guys who are supporting the cause and continue to spread the love. And stay up.